morning. Welcome everyone to Australia's top players in holiday marketing. I am so excited to be joined here today with representatives from Admiral, SearchSpring, and Yotpo. We have Serena, Shayna, and Kate joining us today. And then I'm going to pass it over to Serena.
Thanks for the intro, Sam. So I'm Serena. I head up the account management team within APAC for Admiral. And just to introduce Admiral a little bit, it's a platform that allows you to run display ads, social ads, and email all in one integrated platform. So powered by AI with the goal of saving our customers time.
Awesome. Kate, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Good morning. So I am Kate Massey, our head of APAC for SearchSpring. So at SearchSpring, we're really focused on how can we grow conversions and how can we grow the average order value through intelligent site search, merchandising strategies, and personalization. But also, how do we let tech do a lot more of that heavy lifting and optimization, automation? We know that e-commerce managers and marketing teams are all running super lean and very busy at the moment. So how can we lean into the tech to help drive those results?
Awesome. And Shayna.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shayna Rowe. I'm an account executive at Yotpo. For those of you who aren't familiar, Yotpo is your full e-commerce marketing retention platform. So we power, the full stages of the customer lifecycle, everywhere from reviews on the acquisition side down to loyalty programs, SMS, email, and subscriptions. So really excited to chat today.
Thank you all so much for joining us. For everyone here, I have had an inside scoop getting to work with these three and hearing their expertise, and I'm really excited to share it with you. If you haven't already seen our ultimate guide to holiday marketing, we actually did this in partnership with Yotpo, SearchSpring, and some of our other great tech partners out there. We'll be sending a copy of this after the event, but really prompted us to have this session and be able to have a discussion here today about some of those questions that we see from marketers throughout the year, as well as really during that Black Friday, Cyber Monday holiday shopping season. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into the questions. We had a few submitted from attendees, and then we also had some that came in throughout the year, and we'll get through as many as possible. And then we'll also leave some time for some expert advice from the three. So be sure to stay tuned for that. If you aren't able to join us for the entire time, this session is being recorded, so we'll be sure to send you that after. So the first question that we hear the most is that Black Friday, Cyber Monday is one of the most competitive times of year. So for a brand to get consumer attention and dollars, the question that we always see is how can brands build a personalized experience that stands out without breaking the bank or their resources? Serena, would you like to answer first?
Yeah, sure thing. So this pops up a lot, especially with the current macroeconomic conditions around budgets reducing and more financial strain than previous Q4s. I'd say it's really important to consider each stage of the user funnel, whether the person that you're attracting is a brand new user or someone who's been on the site once or someone who's abandoned the cart or a past purchaser. There is a way to give them all a different experience without spending a lot of budget. And so to do that, I would recommend tweaking your messaging depending on where they are in the funnel. There are ad formats such as native ads that allow you to simply adjust the copy without submitting a whole new image or redesigning all of your ads. So very low touch in terms of the effort needed. But speaking to the different parts of the funnel help you achieve a personalized experience without spending any more.
Kate, would you like to hop in with anything to add?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for us, personalization is really looking at right product, right shopper, right time. So where are you driving that traffic to once they come to site, and are you giving them that personalized experience? So are they new versus returning shoppers? And if they're returning shoppers, are you showcasing more of the types of products or brand preferences that they've engaged with as they're clicking throughout the site? I think also starting to look at, so there's certain products you go and look straight for. So whenever I'm shopping for my dog, my King Charles Cavalier, I'm always looking for a certain brand of dog food. I'm not going to sway away from that. So I want to get there as quickly as possible with as least friction as possible. But also, I'm the perfect shopper to upsell and cross-sell with treats and toys, right? So don't recommend me other dog food, but recommend me treats and toys, and I'll keep adding to cart. So whether you're recommending them based on what's trending in the treats category or on those PDP, so what have other shoppers purchased that are top rated or best selling based on the dog food that I'm looking at? of a complementary nature. And then when you get to that cart level, that mini slide out cart at cart level, and then flowing that all the way through to those ongoing email and even SMS communications as well, to really look at how do you keep kind of driving obviously conversions, but also that average order value as well. I think now is the ideal time to start testing and making sure that we've got those A/B tests going. You're looking at what's working for you and you're leaning into that more before we get into what is peak trade for a lot of retailers. I know at the moment I have seen a pair of sneakers on an activewear brand. Absolutely love them, but it's not taking into an account when I see it on Instagram and I click on that, it's taking me straight to the homepage, right? So why am I not being directed to the foot pages and then elevating that product to the top of the results? And the other call out there is there's only one very small size of those sneakers left. So I'm never going to convert on them, right? And so starting to test that whole marketing promotional piece and flowing that all the way through to that stock availability and elevating, if I can't transact on that, what could I transact on based on what's performing in that footwear brand as well.
Awesome. I definitely am also someone who gets the upsells, especially anything for my dog. So if you're looking for someone to target, I am probably the one for it. Yeah. Shayna, do you have anything else to add from your lens?
Definitely. Just adding on to what Kate and Serena said, right? Like really understanding consumer behaviors right now to really double down on personalization with the upcoming holiday season, right? Really understanding previous purchase history, understanding maybe your most engaged or loyal customers and give them a reason to kind of come back. Personalization is just so important as consumers are, really expecting that from brands these days. So meeting them on the channel they're at, right? If they're shopping on mobile or they've opted into SMS, specifically, the Gen Z audiences, how can we really send, hyper relevant messages that are going to really engage them and get them to purchase, the pair of sneakers that Kate was referring to.
Awesome. Thank you for all of that. I think one thing when thinking about all this is definitely budgets, given the macroeconomics and also it being the end of year for many businesses, depending when your cycle is. Budgets can be very tight for marketers during this time of year. And with CPMs on the rise, the cost to advertise out being even more expensive, are there any recommendations you all have for marketers to ensure they can maximize both their budget and reach in Q4? Serena, I'll pass it over to you first again.
Yeah, sure thing. So I would say that it's not a surprise that CPMs are going to go up around this time of year, but by now brands should have a clear plan about how they're going to allocate their budgets to take this into account. With that in mind, my recommendations would be to start early as possible. Google Trends search show that people start searching for holiday gifts in September. And CPMs are also lower in September and October. So what that means is that every dollar you spend is going to get you way more impressions than if you start speaking to people in November. So it's really important to prime your audiences early, and that budget you spend then will go a really long way. Secondly, skew your budgets within November. So if you have a fixed budget, save more of it for that promotional week or weekend, as opposed to just spending your budget evenly over the month of November. And lastly, in December, skew to the shipping deadlines. If you know that the AusPost cutoff, so the cutoff for gifts that you order to arrive to people is around the 13th of December, plan to spend most of your budget before that with less after. So with some tips and tricks like this, you can go a lot further with the budget that you have.
Awesome. Kate, do you have anything you wanted to add here?
Yeah, absolutely. So they were really good tips. I know my sister is great for finishing her holiday shopping before we even hit into peak trade. I'm more of a 24th of December type shopper. But from my side, I think the real focus, and I talk about this a lot, is now is the time to lean in and test your top searches on site and your top collections and see what products are coming up at the top and are they the right products that are taking up your prime real estate. So things like Have you got good stock availability, good size curve availability? If you understand those shipping timeframes, are there products that can ship faster that you want to be elevating to the top of the results? Have you got high margin products, and are you A/B testing those different strategies? And I think now is the ideal time, if you're not already, to be leaning into your tech partners and making sure everything is optimized on site as much as possible. So if you don't have those regular cadence meetings with your tech partners and making sure that you're getting the most out of your tech right now, now's the time to actually do it. And I think there's a lot of content coming out at the moment. Obviously, we're doing webinars like this. There's blogs and guides and ebooks, and making sure you're taking time to look at those tips and those strategies and starting to implement what's right for your brand as well.
Awesome. And I'm going to drop a little plug. If you haven't checked out our holiday guide yet that we did in partnership with SearchSpring and Yotpo, we walk through what you can do month over month. So would highly recommend taking a look at that. And it's a really great way to see if you're staying on track and ahead of the curve and what you need to have done. So we'll be sending that out again at the end of this session, but this really is a great expansion on that as well. Kind of leaning in to this question, another one that we received a couple of times was that it costs 5 times more to acquire a new customer. We know that new customers are more expensive than keeping your customers, but how are you helping brands to create customer loyalty at SearchSpring and Yotpo? So Shayna, I'll hand it over to you for this one.
Thanks so much. So doubling down on loyalty and focusing more on the retention side of things this holiday season is going to be as critical as ever with, again, like you just mentioned, Sam, customer acquisition costs are at an all-time high. So launching things like a loyalty program that are really going to reward your customers for their high value behaviors, right? Keeping them engaged between, after the holidays until the holidays next year. How can you really create that unique experience that's going to keep your brand top of mind, but also keep them, again, engaged? So Yotpo actually does this perfectly. We help you set up a loyalty program, but we really help you better understand what your customers expect out of a loyalty program. And on top of that, again, rewarding high value behaviors, incentivizing your customers with really unique rewards, again, to really stay top of mind.
And Kate, do you have anything to add from SearchSpring?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the very first piece is making sure that first shopper converts, right? Because if you lose that first time order, then often you lose that lifetime value of a shopper. So really doing a bit of a site audit right now and making sure that you're removing any friction points to allow shoppers to get to that checkout piece as quickly as possible. And then starting to look at what does that shopper purchase, and when they're coming back to site, looking at what are they most likely going to want to purchase based on what have other shoppers that have purchased similar products gone on to convert on as well. I think as well then tying that into that product discoverability piece. So how can we make sure that the products that you're looking at, you've then got the right cross-sell, upsell recommendations, and how are you then pushing those into those email flows and those SMS flows? I think we know that there's a lot of sale activity going on at the moment, from like Vogue online shopping night, there's Click Frenzy coming up, we've obviously got Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but there's been end of financial year sales and warehouse sales as well. And so really looking at like that sales activity that has been going on, there's a lot of noise in the email inbox right now, but my cell phone has actually been pretty quiet, right? I'm not getting a lot of SMS marketing. And I think now is the ideal time to be testing different SMS strategies as well. Po have amazing loyalty solutions, and we're seeing brands use our inline banner functionality to promote signups to those VIP rewards and loyalty programs. And now is the time. It's not just during those big promotional campaigns to be promoting those loyalty programs. Now is the time to be building those opt-ins. If we don't have those opt-in strategies yet, I would say take some time and build that strategy and that plan right now.
Awesome. I think one of the things that I love in hearing in these conversations is that it's never too late to get started. There's always time to be adding and doing a little bit more. And you can always look for ways to optimize no matter what time of year it is and what your budget is. We've been talking about a lot of strategy, and so I want to change the conversation a little bit. There's obviously a ton of things that happen in marketing. There are fads and there's also trends. I know from personal as a shopper, I see TikTok shop going off, Instagram ads, everything and beyond. So I would love to know if anyone kind of has input on how to decipher some of these fads and trends. What are you all seeing that's maybe a bit underrated and people should be paying a bit more attention to?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from my side, the real key at the moment is looking at profitable conversions, not conversion at any cost, right? So there is, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of sales activity happening on at the moment. And so that profitable conversion piece, I think, is really key, really leaning into those average order values. So if you're a retailer that does have ideal kind of lower value accessory items that in store are really easy to kind of grab and add to your order, making sure that you're promoting them at the mini slide out cart, that checkout piece, to really focus on growing those average order values. Like, there's a lot of time, money, effort that goes into driving traffic to site, and getting really focused now on improving that conversion and that AOV, I think, is going to become more and more important. And then obviously tying that into that long-term loyalty strategy and that lifetime value. I think that's where there's going to be a lot of focus this year.
Awesome. So thinking past 2023 into 2024, we've heard a lot from Google of cookie deprecation coming. They're saying that it's going to be starting in January and go through the end of the year. And I know we've been talking about this for many years as marketers, saying to collect data and get ready for all of that. But with that coming, what should marketers do this holiday season that can help them to prepare for the new year? Serena, if you want to jump in first.
Yeah, sure. So say this has been around for a while, but we finally got a deadline from Google on it. So we finally have a bit of urgency to start taking more action. The most important call out here is to collect your first party data, which a lot of people are already doing, but really good time to ramp this up. You're going to have so many people visiting your site over the next few months, and so many who show some interest, but it's likely that the budgets that you use won't reach all of them, and that's okay. But it's still a good opportunity to collect this customer data to use it in the future. So having pop-ups on your website, having incentives for people to leave their email address on your website as well, rather than just assuming they'll give it to you for nothing in return. So having a small discount or something like that will go a long way. I would also say that it's the right time to be testing different online strategies. So what I mean by that is there are strategies like contextual targeting, for example, that don't rely on cookies as much as other targeting strategies that are purely cookie-based. And so until the cookie deprecation happens is a really great time to be testing different types of targeting to really understand what is working best for you, how you can uniquely stand out, and so that you're less reliant when that deprecation happens, so that you've got a diverse mix of targeting under your belt.
Kate or Shayna, if you want to jump in.
Yep, I'm happy to jump in. Just kind of going off of what Serena, you said, how you can really incentivize for that first party data. So a loyalty program is an excellent way to kind of collect either phone numbers or gather a style quiz or a skincare quiz, depending on your industry, just really making the experience for consumers to want to give you access to that data. We found that 54% of consumers are willing to actually give up that data for brands that they love. So how can you really engage them and ensure that you're going to deliver a personalized experience after you have already collected that data? So the more different ways you can collect, like I just mentioned, the better off in the long run it will be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I 100% agree with all of those points. For us, making sure that the signups and the promotion of those loyalty and rewards programs are not hidden on an About Us page or a specific page on the website, but bringing that to life through inline banners and encouraging that sign up with those call to actions of what are they going to get for that kind of value exchange piece as well. Also starting to see a lot of brands move towards an app as well. So then being able to build that app community up, then you are able to push those notifications and promotions and new product releases to a really loyal community. And so definitely starting to see that trend start to emerge as well.
That's all really great information. So thank you so much. I think the big thing to pay attention is as we get to 2024, look at what other marketers are doing. Look at other brands that you like shopping for some inspiration. It's definitely not wrong of you to jump on their websites, look at their ads, and take from them to keep learning. And I'm sure we'll have tons of webinars coming out in the new year as we see the trends shifting with first-party data. The last question we're going to jump into is one that was submitted by Jaya Priya. And if I'm saying your name wrong and you're on here today, please correct me, but would love to get this question answered from you all. So the question they submitted was, what is the best time or way to start marketing campaigns right after a big retail moment like Black Friday without being tone deaf given the poor macroeconomic conditions or, the fact that everyone probably just spent a good amount of change on Black Friday and holiday shopping?
Well, here's hoping everyone is going to spend large this promo period. I think we're heading into another bit of an unknown, but certainly what we've been seeing over the recent sales activity is there is a bump in sales happening right now, which is great to see. I think a really key call out here at the moment is people are still spending money, right? It's just becoming more of a considered purchase right now when we're actually seeing, so those shoppers using search on site, the percentage of revenue is going up from those at the moment because those motivated shoppers, they're coming to site with an intention. So I think that that's an important piece to consider. And then starting to look at post kind of these big sale periods, then we are going into what is traditionally peak trade for a lot of brands over and above just the specific kind of Black Friday, Cyber Monday days, weeks, even months for a lot of brands now as well. So really starting to look at, have you got new products coming out during those times, restocked products if shoppers may have missed out? Did you have some sold out products, and what else are shoppers going to be able to purchase over and above what they potentially missed out on during that time as well? And starting to understand those strategies, I think personalization is going to play such an important role on this, and making sure that those like email flows and those SMSs based on what have they purchased or not purchased, and pushing those product recommendations through to those email flows to encourage them post those peak periods to keep coming back to site and purchasing more. And I think it's really important to understand that shopper behavior and how frequently would they typically purchase, and making sure that those email flows are optimized around that as well.
Serena, was there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'd love to I'd love to add to that. I would say this is such a great question because firstly, for whoever submitted it, it's great that to recognize that you don't want to be tone deaf, and that customers are people and you've got to consider their behaviors as well. I would say here that not all of your ad creative needs to mention a sale or even needs to mention purchasing. We actually find that more loyalty is built by offering customers some form of advice or value first. So for example, if you're a makeup brand, this could be running ads with some how-to videos as to how to match your foundation or how to apply an eyeshadow, how to organize your lipsticks, for example. There are lots of ways you can still be speaking to your customers without directly asking for a sale. And this in the long term tends to lead to better loyalty, more long-term customers, as opposed to ones who are just here for a short promotion. So I would recommend still run ads that speak to your customers. You can link them to guides on your site. You can link them to new collections. And there are lots of ad formats you can use to do this. There could be native ads. There could be video ads. There's a whole bunch of things you could be doing. But given the important timing in which you've already driven lots of people to your site, I wouldn't go cold after the sale period. I would just switch up the strategy around who you're targeting and what you're trying to tell them.
Awesome. Thank you for all of those answers and for taking the time to get through all of those. I do want to give some time for you all to give your expert advice, but if you do have any other questions, you can drop them in the event chat and we'll be sure to take a look at those after the event. And then we'll jump right into expert advice. So Serena, I'm going to hand it right back to you. What would you tell a marketer right now?
So right now, I would say as you go into the busiest time of the year with the most activity on the site, if you're a retail or holiday-focused customer, you can go a lot further by attributing fairly. And when I say attributing fairly, I'm talking about an attribution model that considers all of the channels that you're using and all the types of marketing that you're investing in, as opposed to a click-only or last-click model, which is very skewed towards certain channels. We know that there's an average of 56 touch points all the way from introduction through to sale. So I'd recommend you to have a think about how each of them play a role, be open-minded about that, and be smart about where you allocate your budget, considering the entire user journey, not just the touch at the end.
Awesome. Kate, I'm going to put you on the spot for your advice.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think the key for marketers right now is to make sure that they've got year-round revenue that's coming through and looking to kind of smooth out these big peaks whilst taking advantage of all of the big peaks. I think definitely starting to make sure that the strategies are outlined for that lifetime value. Now is the ideal time to start testing and optimizing everything. Don't leave it until it's too late. If you're not looking at the performance of your ad campaigns, what happens to that traffic once they come to site, what products are being moved, elevated up and down in the results, now is the time to really do that. As I mentioned earlier, leaning into those tech partners is key right now. And I think that's probably one of the biggest takeout. Everyone's got an investment in tech or marketing partners that they're working with, making sure that you've got that happening ahead of driving that additional kind of traffic and spend to site. Paying attention to things like these webinars that are coming out and blogs and guides and ebooks as well. I think there's a lot of great content to leverage. And yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting peak this year, and hoping that everyone has a really successful one.
Thank you, Kate. And Shayna, if you can take us home with the advice for marketers.
Absolutely. So I think just in this whole last 30 minutes, everyone's touched on some really great points, and just want to kind of reiterate, now's the time to personalize, really understand your engaged or loyal audiences to really maximize that either return on investment for your tech partners, or to really double down on your retention strategy for that period directly after the holiday season that's coming up. But yeah, just a lot of the advice today was really, really great, and making sure that, yeah, you're really reaching out to your loyal audiences in the way that they want to be engaged.
Awesome. Well, Kate, Shayna, and Serena, thank you so much for joining us today and giving this advice and going through all of those questions that were submitted. So thank you again to the three panelists, as well as to Admiral, SearchSpring, and YachtPro overall for the time. And thank you for all of you for joining the session today. Have a great holiday marketing season.